Hey guys, what's up? I am here to give you guys a recap on the new episode or chapter of RWBY Volume 8, an episode or chapter 4. Now this chapter episode looked like it's pretty bad. Now, just hear me out. The situation is pretty bad for all our characters, all of them, for the time being. So I'm gonna put this in a certain order that might make a little sense for the time being. So forgive me if it's a little disorganized here and there, but I'm gonna do it in a way that seems to have more of a spotlight compared to like parts going back and forth. So let's start with this one at the beginning. Robin ends up trying to make a joke to try to get everybody to laugh. However, Crow does laugh a little bit in the end and ends up talking to Robin about like how when he was with Clover, everything seems to be okay, thinking that, hey, this ain't too bad. Even though my semblance is always bringing misfortune, he always had that good fortune balancing it out most of the time, that kind of thing. But however, because like he made a deal with the devil, and that is like working with Tyrion against him, it all went into the garbage bin really easily right away. But it wasn't just that, I mean, like, Crow wanted to, like, work with Clover. And I really think that should have happened in last volume. But, Clover, I don't know what his deal is, etc. But they could have fought Tyrion together and then continue the fight later. But you know how things are, But, yeah, I guess humanity as alone is already complicated enough of how chaotic we are. But that aside, we have to it that Robin states her own opinion to how like you try to hide the truth from everyone, you try to push everyone away. That's just even worse. Then we see to it that Watts, who's done his job, ends up being thrown back into a cell, and we have to it that Harriet ends up talking to Crow and calls him a murderer or something, and Crow convinces her that he did not kill her, and that's the truth. Tyrion made it look like that way. Unfortunately, maybe because they're too stupid to even look at things in a more detailed perspective, that Tyrion had his hands on Crow's harbinger or sword or scythe and shotgun mode weapon, But they're just too stupid to even look into details of who had it on last. But either way, it would have made things complicated because Crow's fingers was on that weapon most of the time, while Tyrion, he barely held on to it, etc. But whatever the case may be, we have to that Robin, on the other hand, challenges Harriet like, you're too afraid to know the truth. If you want to know it, how about you let this cell down out and reach for my hand? I'll tell you everything, huh? How's that sound? And Harriet would look like she was very, very close to actually like falling for the bait on Robin. And Meryl's like, hey, what you doing? And then Harriet's like, nothing. And then she shoulder bumps Meryl out of anger, taking it out on him, etc. Then, of course, I'll go to the scene right here because it's very short. We have to that Weiss bangs on the mansion, etc., on her home. And Whitley's like, oh, what the hell are you doing here, kind of thing. And Weiss threatens to, like, possibly hurt him in a very bad physical way by saying, not another word or you're gonna get it from me. You got it? And we have to it that Ruby tells Whitley, hey, we just want to lay low for a while, okay? And Whitley's like, hey, look, we got a reputation down in the shambles right now, okay? And Blake's like, dude, everything is so turned to hell chaotic right now, and you're worried about your reputation? And Whitley's like, hey, we lost all of our house staff. As for Mother, she locked herself in her room drinking God knows who what or something, And Whitley is already pretty ticked off because, his father was taken away and he's off being in nasty depression, whatever the case may be. But whatever the situation is presenting itself right now, Whitley's already ticked off, and looks like Whitley asks Weiss, what can I do? And Weiss like, go to your room, pretty much. Kind of funny how a sibling relationship is, It's kind of ironic that Weiss never understood what her mother's words meant, by saying, don't forget about your brother. You left him alone with us. Why do you think he really hates you, And etc. Okay, simple stuff like that. Short scenes like that out of the way. Now we're gonna get to the most important ones. Okay, let's start with the chase with Yang, Jean, and Ren going after Oscar by that mutated Grimm that knows human speech whatsoever. And we have to it that they are chasing him down, but unfortunately the bikes doesn't seem like it's gonna hold out any longer. Then we go to a scene where that Grimm, whatever Hound Grimm, however people want to call it, or a dog-like Grimm, he ends up making a screech and calls for backup for other Grimm, which makes it worse for the time being. I'm like, what the blazing pickles is this thing? And we have to it that before all that happened, we have to it that John, on the other hand, gives Ren a boost, and then Ren uses his weapon to hook himself to like the hound-like Grimm whatsoever, and tries to hold on, you know? But unfortunately for Jean and Yang trying to catch up, unfortunately, they end up hitting a nasty big pitfall, and Ren had to let go and rescue them both and use his semblance not trying to get killed by the Grimm, you know? Sucks very, very badly. Tell me about it, you know? And we have to it that they got a long, long freaking walk to like to a certain location. But we see to it that whatchamacallit, I'll get to the other stuff later. Let's get to this scene because I think it'll be much more crazy, but you know what? Forget it. Let's do it in a certain order that happened in a certain way. Forgive me for being disorganized. I'm sorry. We have to it that Yang asks Jean and Ren a question, you know? Ren, on the other hand, looked really ticked off like how I could be, you know? It felt like after getting ticked off, I may show some nasty attitude here and there, and Yang tries to ask a couple more questions. And it looks like to me she really snapped out very badly and says, hey, what the heck is your freaking problem? And Ren's like, you know what? I don't want to talk about it. And Ren and Yang pressured him to like say something about it, you know? And we have to it that Ren's like, look where we're at. We're stuck in the middle of nowhere and here and there. And Yang's like, hey, look, this is what being part of a huntsman is. And Ren's like, excuse me? You don't understand about being a huntsman. Look, I'm a freaking orphan boy. Ruby's barely a freaking teenager. She's just a little freaking kid. And John was trying to break it up, you know? He's trying to break up the fight between Ren and Yang arguing with each other. And Ren calls Jean off by saying, you cheated your way into Beacon by lying or something. Well, he just said you cheated your way into Beacon. And Jean's like, yeah, so we should stop being huntsmen, right? That's up to you. Because you know what? I got a job to do. I'm going to get going, okay? I want to get out of this cold before things get worse than it has to be. Lucky for them, their aura levels managed to keep them safe for the time being. But whatever the case may be coming about, we have to it that Asuka's brought to Salem, and Salem asks a couple questions, you know? And since she knows Ozma's in there, and no wonder why her Hound or Grimm experiment, which is later on revealed, did not maul you up very badly or mutilated you. We have to it that Salem asks Asuka a couple questions involving about the lamp or the beacon relic, you know? And what's the password whatsoever. We have to it that Oscar says that the lamp is all out of questions, but Salem uses her own magic and gets read into possibly Oscar's mind or possibly his soul, whatever the case may be, and causes Oscar a great amount of pain and realizes, yep, you're still a liar. Like two-minded souls alike, don't you think? And we have to it that Oscar therefore states, I'm not going to tell you anything. So we have to it that Salem decides to bring in Hazel to do the interrogation of physical torture. I'm pretty sure Oscar will last, but Ozma or Ozpin tells Oscar like everything's gonna be okay? Before all this happened, you know, with him talking to Salem and all that. But yeah. We have to it that things are still looking very bad right now, and we have to it that Cinder tries to ask Salem, let her go after the Winter Maiden. You know, I know who it is. Let me go do something. But Salem tells her to stand down whatsoever and talks about a new experiment on the Grimm. And Cinder tries to be persistent, and this really annoys the hell out of Salem, and her Hound Grim, understanding her feelings, threatens Cinder by possibly attacking her or mutilating her or mauling her very badly, you know? We have to it that Salem says, "You will act accordingly when I tell you to, not out of your own spite or you think here and there, you hear me?" And Cinder says, "Yes, I know. Without you, I am nothing," which is obvious from the get-go. And we have to it that Cinder wants to go to Amity Coliseum or do something about it because she knows these kids as much as Salem does. Unfortunately, her kind of arrogance like that is going to lead to her downfall from the get-go again. Whatever the case may be. Whatever's going to happen next, you know. I mean, Cinder, on the other hand, tries to convince Neo to come with her and help her out. And we have to it that Emerald says, "Hey, maybe I can help out." I mean, I've been working on my semblance a lot lately, so yeah. And Cinder's like, "How much did you overhear, huh?" And we have to it that that we go to a last scene with like Jean and Yang and Ren talking with each other. Well, we have to it that of course Jean is talking to Ren and tries to convince him, "Don't bottle it all inside. Trust me. Don't push anyone away either, like how I did. It's only gonna make things worse than it has to be, you know." Whatever the case may be, I don't know. All I know is Jean was trying to convince Ren, "Don't just let it all out if you have to, okay? Don't bottle up inside yourself and make it worse later." And we have to it that Yang comes in after Ren decides to like go out to maybe cool off or to do some thinking for a bit, and Yang's like, "Hey, I found a piece of the bike, you know." And Jean on the other hand says, "With what's happened, you know, I really want to get some sleep here and there." And Yang's like, "Go ahead, go get some sleep. I'll keep an eye out for Ren and make sure he doesn't like get a frostbite or freeze himself to death out there, you know." Then the scene ends up with some ice in the lake, I believe, ends up cracking here and there, etc. And then the chapter episode ends off there. So yeah, things are looking bad for all of our characters right now. Crow is still being framed and blamed for Clover's death, even though Robin tries to convince Harriet that he is not the murderer and you're too stupid to, or too afraid or too stupid to know the truth about it, and that she offers Harriet the truth by letting her grab her hand. And then we have to it as the episode continues on, you know, Ruby, Weiss, Blake, Nora decides to lay low in the Schnee mansion for now. And then, you know, Yang, Ren, Jean is chasing down the Grimm that kidnapped Oscar, and then like unfortunately they couldn't save him. And you know, Yang, Ren, and ends up arguing with each other very badly, which just shows a lot more of what's going on, that they're going against each other, which is a nasty thing throughout this time right now because of what the hell has happened. And Salem trying to interrogate Oscar and Ozpin at the same time later on decides, you know what? I'll let Hazel do the torturing to make you talk, you know? And yeah. We have to it that Cinder wants to do something, but Salem tells her to stand down and stay in your place, otherwise you answer to me badly. And then, you know, Cinder, despite like being threatened, decides to go her own way. How stupid is she either way? And we have to it that whatchamacallit, you know, Ren, Yang, and Jean are pretty much finding a place for shelter for now, while Ren, on the other hand, decides to go outside after all that's happened and arguing, you know, that kind of thing. Sorry for being a little complicated. Although it was a little disorganized here and there, I did the best I can to make it a little simplified for you. Forgive me. Anyways, like I said, everything's looking bad for our everything's just looking bad right now for all of our characters right now. Don't know what's really bound to happen for anyone else, but it's not looking so great. Ironwood made use of Watts already and throws him back in prison, so don't know what's going to happen next, but it's just going to look bad from here on out. That much I can say. Well, we'll just have to find out and see, you know? So until then, people, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Alpha Zero. Have a good day, And I'll see you guys next time, alright? Peace out. Bye-bye. Toot-toot!